So the first method we will demonstrate today is Yeezy Champa. Yeezy using predominantly the tip of the thumb. Can either be done by an on-off pressure, maintaining constant pressure with constant contact with the skin, however, or you can do a fasting.
Can we do that for the scapular onwards?
Yep. And then we've got Gwenfa going down the spine. Rolling method. This is very nourishing, good for arthritis, good for injuries. Also have Rolfa, using this part of the palm. We have Mofa. This is good warm-up introductory technique to begin your massage. Feeling the dog's skin, muscle condition. This point's also good at harmonizing the middle jaw, regulating the chi, resolves accumulation, helps with stagnation. Also have Chafa, which is rapid and linear. It's very warming very good for yang deficiency, so particularly good to do over the digestive area. I wouldn't start with this technique though. Going fast. And you should be creating some heat in the palm of your hand. Very invigorating. Should be creating vasodilation quite quickly. We also got Toifa, which the Western equivalent would be like myofascial release, which is slightly dredging up. I wouldn't start with this technique. I would build up to it, as it can be uncomfortable. Don't need to use the hand. You could use the thumb for small animals or cats. But maintaining constant pressure, going up and down. Or there is as well, we've got Chofa, using both hands. Good boy. Thank you, sir. Rapid movement, but the limb shouldn't be moving excessively. You should just be moving your hands. It's Chofa. It's good for paralyzed animals particularly. So any animal with ataxia or any hind limb or front limb issues, do Chofa. Good for proprioception. We've also got Morpha, which is good for the shin. I predominantly use it around the face, both fingers. Just drawing the tissue apart. Opens the orifices, calms the spirit. Predominantly used around the head, face and neck. Cats love this technique. Good one to start with, just to get them relaxed. As I said, I do it around Bahwei, around the point of the head there. I do it on yin tang, just trying to relax them. I do this point a little bit, this technique a bit when I'm preparing to do acupuncture if the animal's quite nervous. And then we've got Anfa, which is pressing. I use this technique predominantly when doing acupressure. Sometimes I'll use this and roll far together. So say we'll go from bladder 15, both sides, doing Anfa, holding for around 1 minute. This can be used anywhere on the body. And always engaging with your animal, watching for their response. Any signs of pain, definitely back off what you're doing. Any signs of aggression, back off with what you're doing. Or change technique, or change area or part of the body. If you did combining unfa and rollfa, you'd do pressure and then you'd roll. Pressure and then roll. Okay. Getting more into mobilizing. More heavier techniques. Got dianfa, which is very similar to unfa, but it's just more pressure. Dianfa translates as knocking, so you can imagine the pressure's a lot harder, stronger. At times, if you've got a large dog, using 50% of, or maybe more towards 40% of your power. So not crazy pressure, but substantial pressure. I wouldn't start with this, I build up to this technique. And also we've got Nifa. I'm trying to do which is either side. Just bring him back here. Safety first. You don't want your animal falling off the table. Good boy. Good down. Okay. Nifa is pinching, going up the spine. Excellent for IBDD. If you do feel areas that are stuck, give it a little tug. Really good at invigorating the blood in the chi. You can use this around the neck. I predominantly use it around the spine, but it can be done anywhere in theory. Then we got Nafa, which is grasping. Grabbing the tissue with either 3 fingers or all 5. I tend to use 3. So you're holding skin and muscle, drawing it up slightly off the bone, holding, waiting for a release. This is really good for expelling wind and cold, which translates as arthritic conditions, degeneration. It relaxes the tendons. And then we got Nyanfa, using your thumb and index finger, used on the digits. Good boy. Holding and rolling. I'd use this towards the end of the treatment. Okay. Now move on to mobilizing the limbs. Got Dolfa. Brace above and below the joint. Dolfa is shaking. Shaking is gentle, mild, but quite rapid. You want to get that vibration going through there. And then we have Zhenfa, which is the equivalent to almost like a massage gun. Can be done with fingers, can be done with palm of the hand, can even be done with fist. If you're working on really large animals, I tend to use just my fingers. And it's a vibration. Good for balancing the middle jowl and invigorating the chi. And as we start nearing to the end of your massage, you want to be starting to do some kojifa, some more percussion-based methods to try and invigorate the animal, bring them back into the room. You can start with paifa, which is cupping hand movement. Can be done both-handed, as bracing the animal unless you have an assistant or you're working on the floor, then I'd have one hand with the dog. Cupped hand, never a flat hand, because flat hand will slap. And then you can start doing some jifa. Way to remember is karate chop. Always watching that. If you're working elevated, don't let your dog fall off. Maybe do it one-handed if you need a brace. Or my assistant here is holding him. Two-handed if you can. Really good for IBDD. I do it adjacent to the spine. I don't do it on the spine. That creates a lot of vasodilation, should bring in a lot of blood flow. It's good for numbness, good for muscle spasms, and it's really good for invigorating chi. Also got Yalfa, which is circle motions, used on the limb. on the animal. I would ideally like to have 2 hands, but we're working through these techniques fast, so he's not quite as relaxed as we'd like him to be, but yafa. Circle motions. It's good for mobilizing post-surgery. Yeah, good for also just feeling range of motion. And then we've got banfa, which is wrenching, which is basically your adjustments. As I told you, I don't enter into that domain. I leave it to chiropractors. I won't do any low velocity, any fast kind of movements. I just do really passive, so counter traction, having one hand drawing him towards me and the other drawing away, and just seeing if anything wants to mobilize on its own accord. Or as we said, we can do it on the head, which is basically a counter. Yeah, and I'd warm up to that. I wouldn't start with that. This is like final techniques, because everything should be nice and loose, worked off, and then it should go on its accord if it wants to, if any joints want to reposition themselves. Yeah, and then we've got final technique is bashenpa, which is stretching. So it's stretch and draw using forelimb or hind limb. You can even do it with the tail. Maybe we'll demo with the tail just because he's probably had enough of his limbs. Bracing above and below, lengthen the tail, and just gentle traction. Stretch and draw. Finish that later on. That is our TuiNa techniques with dragas. And did you want me to show you the